this isn't that pre-back car talk. This is the pre-cardio talk. And I could just do the cardio at the house because I've got a seated bike. But what I don't have is a sauna. So make a little quick little drive over. 30 minutes on the seated bike, followed by 15 minutes of 160 or however many degrees in the sauna for about 15 minutes ish. Now, do I think that there's an incredible bodybuilding, muscle growing, recovery effect from the sauna? I don't know. I'll say this: I like the feeling of it every so often, especially after cardio. Because after a workout, I don't know. I've never been so inclined after like hitting arms or chest to go into the sauna and sit there for a minute. But I'm also not so. I'm also usually in more of a rush after the workout to get home to actually fucking, eat the post-workout meal than I am to just sit in the sauna. Because I feel like getting your calories in reasonably quickly after your workout is probably going to be a bit more beneficial than a touch of, extra vasodilation that you're going to get from the heat effect of the sauna. But if you've got one, yeah, man, fucking jump in there a few times every month. Not to get scientific on you, but studies have shown the heat shock protein, variety of cool health effects. And if the analytics kind of show me any Swedish, Icelandish viewers, it's in the sub 1%. Honestly, probably closer to like 0.05% of viewers here. But anybody over there, they know what I'm talking about. Fucking sauna and ice bath fanatics. So that's the plan for the morning. After 30 minutes of cardio, I know I'm reiterating myself, but I really want to fucking just keep saying it so you get. Honestly, if I had the power, I probably wouldn't mind brainwashing you guys into doing your 30 minutes of daily cardio. Now, of course, that shouldn't be necessary because you should know that 30 minutes of cardio is going to be good for you, just overall, as well as it's going to have a direct correlation to your training. I'll explain it, and then we can cut to whatever else. I know I can go off on a whole 1 hour TED talk trying to get you to do your cardio, but there's a few key components which I do it for, and which I definitely feel the benefits from. For one, I'm not going to get so winded during my training. And I already get pretty winded after like a set of, crazy heavy squats. I'm definitely sitting there huffing and puffing before I can get my heart rate back down to baseline and do another set. So having a reasonably healthy cardio system, or not even healthy, but let's just say more active per se, it's going to let me recover between my sets quicker. Thus, each set I can go harder and not be limited by my fucking respiratory system. The whole point of weight training is not to reach cardiovascular failure, right? It's to reach muscular failure. So, really, if I do a set of fucking concentration bicep curls, apart from the fact that I'm probably going to hold my breath a little bit while I'm trying to force the reps, that shouldn't put me out of breath, right? Now, a set of squats, since it has a really high oxygen load, of course, you can't get around it. It is going to have a respiratory effect. But the point of the training isn't to see, how far you can go and how many reps you can do. Like, oh, I can't catch my breath. I can't do any more squats. It's to hit muscular failure. So if your cardio is so shit that you can't do high quality, hard, nasty sets, not because you're physically too weak to continue, but because you're sitting in between, especially anybody in my fucking larger weight demographic, I'm talking 200 pounds plus, regardless of if that's fat or muscle, you're going to be breathing a bit heavier than the 180 pound dude. So your cardio is fucking important. And then you're going to be leaner. When you're dieting down, we all understand, when you do your cardio consistently, you're burning more energy throughout the day. It's going to help with fat loss. That's the one part. That's the one part which everybody seems to understand. Do your cardio to get leaner. We've all seen every Rocky movie. That's what happens. Go fucking hard. But even when you're bulking, I think at least, and this is something to be argued for sure. I'm not saying this is the actual perfect approach, but even bulking, I still do my 30 minutes of cardio on the bike in the morning, followed by the workout in the evening, because same thing, it's going to help me be able to do harder workouts without getting so winded. But it also kind of keeps me from being plateaued. I've done bulks where I didn't do my cardio consistently because it was cutting into my sleep, so I decided to get a bit more sleep and wake up a little bit later so that I could get a bit more optimized recovery. Like, I think if you have to have 6 hours of sleep before you have to wake up and do your shit for the day, it may not be beneficial that day to get 4.5 hours of sleep and add cardio in the morning. But really, all I'm saying there is you should get a good amount of sleep and do your cardio. But I can tell my workouts were much more fucking strenuous per se, so I couldn't push myself as hard. And it was just harder to eat. For me, to be a bit more on the active side, it stops me from hitting weight plateaus much more quickly because I can still keep funneling food through my system. So I think that is very much related to if you're a fucking kid, right? And if you have kids, then you know what I'm talking about. If they're just kind of chilling, it's fucking summertime. They're not really or no, let's say wintertime, whatever. Let's say they're just kind of chilling. They're not doing like they're not in season for whatever sport they're doing. As soon as they start adding practices, and workouts, even if it's nothing like weight training, even if it's just like soccer. If soccer season starts up and they start pushing themselves hard, what happens is they're now burning a ton of energy throughout the day. So their body is immediately going to say, dude, you're fucking hungry. You got to start eating. So the more active you are, the more calories you're going to end up eating. Now, there is kind of a back and forth argument there because, well, I'm trying to gain weight. Why would I want to burn extra calories? As far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm knowledgeable about, I think that the calorie burning effect of the cardio does not outweigh the metabolism benefits, the training benefits, the just being at a baseline leaner level kind of benefits. But I mean, that's up to you. I've heard really crazy characters Olympia level where when they're bulking up, they say no cardio because they don't want to waste the energy. So, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're getting the results that you want, then I guess you're in a good spot. But that's my take on the matter. But plan now is to go sit down, play on my phone, get totally drenched. I had to bring a spare shirt to change into, and then we can cut to meal number one. Whatever that ends up being. I wasn't yeah, I keep putting off the full day meetings. Sorry about that. Well, so here we go. Day 68. I can't remember, but either way, let's cut to meal one. Yeah, honestly, this is a pretty gosh dang respectable breakfast. 3 packs of kind of a lower carb instant oatmeal, coupled with a dozen eggs, only two of them with a yolk. There is total nutritional benefit. I'm talking omega 3s, fucking every other fatty acid under the sun in the egg yolks. Right? Egg yolks are fucking killer. But at 5 grams of fat per hit, it's kind of a tough sell to slam a dozen whole eggs if you're on a bulk. A dozen whole eggs is more fat than I want to eat for the entire day today. But a few yolks, that's good for you. So this all adds up to, it's about 45 grams of fat. No, 45 grams of carbs here. Something I forget to do. Let me just pull it up. Another benefit of tracking your macros, you can look back at what you've already eaten for the day. Because, I mean, there's no chance you're going to remember. If you say to yourself, like, oh,
I'll just remember how much protein I had in my head. I had 50 grams in the morning. Uh, Wait, how much should I have for lunch? Come on, and you're not gonna remember that shit. I've definitely had days where I was like, my protein goal was 200. This is back when I was smaller, and at the end of the day, I'm like, wait, did I have 200 or did I only have 150? Wait, did I eat that yesterday or like you tell me? Do you remember what you had for breakfast 2 days ago? Do you remember what snack you had at noon a week ago? You got no fucking idea, right? That's not something that's really getting ingrained in your memory. So I say track it all the way. But total 52 grams of protein, 20 of fat, 10 from the two yolks, another 5 from the avocado oil I cooked the eggs in, and then 5 in the oatmeal. That is something you have got to fucking track. Even though it was only 1.5 grams of fat per serving, you multiply that by 3, that's nearly 5 grams. That's like 50 fucking calories. If you let 50 calories slip every time you eat, and 50 grams of calories is like 10 grams of carbs. That's not even a full handful of M&Ms, right? It's nothing, but it adds up. So you got to be real fucking careful, man. This even said it had 4 grams of protein per serving, which, it's from oatmeal, not what I would call a really high quality protein source. It's not a complete, you know, array of all your necessary and essential amino acids, but it still counts as calories. So I will add it, but I definitely want to make sure the majority of my protein for the day, all 250 grams, is coming more so from things like this: eggs, fish, meats, animal products. I'm talking dairy, stuff like this. You get the idea. I've been a bit of a fan of kind of the low sugar condiment approach. I'm talking like covering the eggs in, 0 calorie barbecue sauce or like hot sauce or whatever else. Kind of hard to beat salt and pepper today, though. So, at about 540 calories for this meal, this is a good pace. I do not want to sit here and have, oh, that's still too high. I don't want to sit here and have like 1,000 calorie breakfast. I definitely don't want to have a 1,500 calorie breakfast because if I'm trying to stick to my calorie limit of 2,500, so that means in the entire day, I need to go to sleep at 2,500 calories to keep losing weight and keep getting leaner. If I freaking blow my load right in the morning, there's no chance that I'm going to fucking stay under my calorie limit at night because, I mean, it would not be difficult for me to walk into the kitchen right now and slam 3,000 calories of food. So the likelihood that you're going to somehow toughen up at nighttime and say, oh, I had a lot of food earlier today, I'm not even hungry for it, especially when no one's watching. If it's just you in your apartment or your house or whatever, nobody's watching you, nobody's holding you accountable. You've already eaten 3,000 calories today, which is already over your calorie limit, and you know that there's a tub of ice cream in the freezer. What are the odds that you're going to go in there, right? Pretty fucking high, because I know that I do that. So my argument and my kind of defense against that, against the late night cravings, is having evenly sized, portioned out meals spread throughout the day so that my hunger bar, right? I'm talking Minecraft level, it never goes down to fucking starving, right? Think about this. When you're fully fed, you got 7 bars of hunger, you're not going to have some random urge to run into the kitchen and destroy an entire sleeve of graham crackers, right? You're just not really going to have so much of an urge to bust out the Girl Scout cookies, right? Because you're full, right? After I eat this meal, I'm not going to somehow have crazy cravings for some kind of sweets because my body's pretty much like, all right, you've got your food in your system, you're chilling. Now, if I were to go the next 6 or 7 hours, eat pretty much jack shit for whatever reason, which a lot of people end up doing because when they think of dieting, they think of, I mean, pretty much just fucking starving themselves, which is a stupid approach. And even though it kind of seems like it would work, you're just fucking playing into this awful loop of not eating anything during the daytime. You're like, oh no, I'll save it for later. I'm gonna be good today. It's somehow nighttime. You haven't eaten jack. You maybe have had like some small like you had a granola bar and a Coke Zero. The odds are before you go to bed, you're gonna fucking pound whatever is in front of you, calorie wise. It's pretty high. So that's kind of I wouldn't call it the theme, but sort of one of the main approaches that I try to apply when I'm dieting down. It's to, eh, I mean, 2,500 calories, 500 calories right here. That kind of adds up to about 5 meals per day. So 10, probably another one at like one ish. Maybe just go work out at 3 and then have a post workout meal at like 5. Another one at 7, another one at 9, then go to bed. We'll see how well I stick to something like that. But that's what it should really look like, you know? And if you're not gonna, put in the effort of either, you have, because if you want to diet, bulking or cutting down, you really do have to at least eat the same amount per day. Whether that's a lot of food so that you gain weight and bulk up, or if it's not a lot of food, literally below the amount your body needs to stay the same weight. No matter what that is, you have to eat the same amount every day. And unless you have some kind of routine to make sure that happens, you're just fucking, you're shooting blind. You don't actually know how much you're eating, where it's coming from, how many calories you're getting. So somehow you have to track it. In my opinion, I think you should track your macros. It's the widest approach, or it's the most variable approach in a way because I can eat whatever. I don't have to meal prep 5 meals for the day. I can say, okay, I want to have some eggs. Or yeah, some of my buddies are going to get Chipotle after the workout. Yeah, I'll come with them. I'll just get a bowl with salad and chickens or whatever else and like fajitas. So you kind of get to play around. You're not locked into eating any specific thing at any specific time. But the chore of it is you have to track it. When I made all this shit, I got to sit on my phone and plug in the details, and I am constantly kind of looking at it. But I don't consider that a fucking detriment because that means if I wanted to go in the kitchen later before the workout and say, all right, I just want to have a few scoops of ice cream. I can put the tub on the scale, have a few scoops, weigh the difference, see what I ate, do the calculations. Oh, I just had 40 grams of carbs. Well, all right, plug it in. As long as at the end of the day I'm still at my calorie goal, it's pretty much fucking fine. Now, the argument against that sort of approach to dieting is like, not all foods are created equal, which I definitely agree with. Don't get me wrong. I do not think that you know, a bowl of chicken and rice is the exact same as like 3 Reese's cups and a protein shake, but they do share some basic core elements. Mainly thinking on the carb side, they both do have, I mean, let's say 400 calories, 100 grams of carbs worth of rice, and like, four fucking, or 100 grams of carbs worth of, I don't know, sorbet or sweets or whatever. When you eat both of them, you're going to get 400 calories no matter what. That doesn't change. Whether it's from a sugar or from a fucking bowl of oatmeal, the energy inside of it is the same. Now, when I eat something like this, I'm going to feel full for longer. So, in a dieting context, you're probably going to want to lean towards more conventionally healthy carbs. You're not going to catch me eating Krispy Kreme when I'm dieting down unless I wanted to have it as like a treat and have just one and make sure that it got counted into my macros. Because eating stuff like this will make you feel fuller for longer. You're not going to just instantly jump ship and start chowing down out of nowhere. But I'm going to sit here for a little while longer, make all this food disappear, and then we can cut to whatever's next. One more tidbit. And honestly, I'm sure you either relate to this or you're going to relate to it once I say it. When I reach into the silverware drawer, I did not pick the big spoon. I did not pick the big fork because that's going to make me get smaller bites at a time. And the longer that you spend eating the food that you get to eat, I mean, just think about it. That's the longer that you're eating. If I made this, I mean, it wouldn't be hard to fucking uh, competitive eat, slam this in like 1 minute. It wouldn't really make me feel good though. The more you can enjoy even the basic kind of foods that you end up eating, I think that's also going to help you from just going off the rails calorie wise. But yeah, let's cut to the next meal, which is definitely going to be the pre workout meal. So it might be a little heavier on the carbs, but I guess we'll find out. All right, I can't help myself. But only two though. And I did the math. That's 7 grams of carbs. All right, some time has passed. Actually, some fucking serious time has passed. I was a little busy getting some stuff sorted. It's fucking 3 o'clock. So, what's in front of me? 4 little, basically kind of like a thick fruit leather. I just kind of like them. But honestly, not a bad source of fast digesting carbs. I mean, pre-workout, it's kind of a hard sell when I say have a bag of Skittles, just because, even though it is just, the standard high fructose corn syrup based, like sucralose and whatever, it's still, or sucrose as. But having some kind of fruit concentrates pre-workout, I'm a fan. Reasonably fast digesting carb. I know it's not going to sit heavy in my stomach. And before a workout, I'm not necessarily headed towards anything very, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Anything that's going to kind of suck up my fluids in a way. And by that I mean, like, I wouldn't want to eat 5 turkey sandwiches right after I go work out, just because it's actually going to have a pump hindering effect. Almost like how you talk about like eating a ton of breads or potatoes and anything to like sober you up in a sense. The logic there is it kind of slows down your digestion. So I don't want my stomach to have anything that's too absorbent in a way, because when I take my pre-workout, I don't want any of that getting held up in my digestive tract. I want it going straight to my insides to be, used. But half a pound of ground beef, along with 2 servings of fat-free cheese mixed in after I strain the fat off. So if you're cooking ground beef like 80%, if you're buying like 80% lean ground beef, you're not going to be able to pour that down the sink. When you strain the fat off and you put that in a bowl, there's going to be a serious fat layer that gets deposited. But when you get like 96% lean beef, it's the only thing really coming out of it when you strain it's water. I mean, I've poured it into bowls before. I don't really see much of a fat layer, so yeah, straight down the sink. But that's at your own risk. The last thing you want to do is pour a congealing fat and have it get sucked up and clog your drain. But that with a serving of 0 sugar Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, that's going to put me at 110 grams of protein for the day, 115 grams of carbs, and 25 grams of fat. And honestly, this is fucking perfect. This is what I want to see. If this guy will... Oh, yeah. You see right in there? Oh, there we go. All those 3 bars measuring my protein, fats, and carbs, they're all pretty much in balance with each other, right? I haven't just shot my fats all the way up to their limit, but I've had no carbs and I've had like half my protein. So that's where having evenly sized and kind of macronutriently partitioned meals is going to help you too. What are you supposed to do if you eat all your carbs in the beginning of the day? Well, you're just going to eat all your protein right at the end? I mean, that's not the same thing. And that's one thing that I'm really kind of focused on once I start bulking up very soon, week probably. Is I want to really make sure that I have an even distribution of calories throughout the day. So for no portion am I going to be overstressed with a massively distended stomach. And I'm not going to have to force calories before I go to bed. Being on track, whether you're trying to bulk up and hit pretty much a fucking PR calorie-wise, like eat a lot of food by the end of the day, or manage to stay under a certain limit. Consistent eating throughout the day is pretty much going to be a solid move. But let's cut to the car talk. I can sit here for a little while, scroll TikTok, and we can talk about the back training.
2 reasonably sized meals, 100 grams of carbs, which is the basically the macro, which is going to probably be one of the bigger determinants of how much energy I feel like I have when I start working out. That's not bad, especially today. It's a back day. If this workout was legs right now, I would probably want to be having at least 200 grams of carbs before this workout. But if the lift itself isn't insanely taxing per se, and like a hard back day still is, but not compared to a really hard leg day with big heavy squats like the Smith machine squats of the last leg day, then that's something that you kind of have to be able to balance out. And this is more of a tip for the experienced dieter in a lifting context, but you're kind of you've got two opposing sort of forces at play. Now, one is you want to have all your meals evenly spread throughout the day. And honestly, I like my meals to actually be a little bit more biased towards later in the evening so that when I go to bed, I get to have a full belly. I get to eat a big meal and I'm not just fucking, fiending for fucking calories. I mean, look, if you get put a lifter in a deficit, give him no more food, and leave him a pantry full of like stale Cheez-Its, guess what? He's probably gonna fucking eat them, and that's toughen up if you like, but odds are, you can come up with an excuse for yourself. You can kind of convince yourself in a way like, screw it, I'm hungry, and whatever, I'll just make it a refeed day. Fuck it, let's just hit it. If you're seriously hungry and you haven't set your day up well enough, it's going to be hard to fight the actual urge to eat. I mean, it's one of your strongest ones. Any living organism is pretty much meant to eat, sleep, and do a little something else in relation to procreation. But fighting any of those, it's pretty fucking hard. So that's where you got to take your advanced monkey brain and say, okay, my body is going to be hungry if I don't eat enough food. Let's try to set this day up in a way where I can minimize that and be able to stick to my diet. Right? But the two opposing forces are, you want to, at least for me, I want to eat a lot of food later in the day so I can go to bed with a full stomach. I get really good sleep. Like even eating a meal right before bed, regardless of what studies may say, I've never noticed a problem. I still get perfectly restful sleep, even when I had like a full stomach of food, like on a bulk, like 20 minutes before I ended up passing out. Like, that could be person to person dependent. So I want to eat a lot of food later in the day. But I also want to eat enough food before the workout that I feel strong and full and energized, and I'll be able to get a really solid pump. Because your calorie intake is actually going to have a pretty solid fucking correlation, or at least relation, to your workout performance. If it was, which is now 4:45, if it was 4:45 right now and I had no food all day, I can guarantee my sets are going to be less intense. And I don't mean like subjectively, like even if I still push myself as hard as I can, I'm literally going to get less reps with lighter weight if I don't have, a couple hundred grams of carbs in my system, some fats, some proteins. Because what that means would be, for that whole period up until now, I wasn't burning any food that I ate. I was just running off of my internal energy storage, right? Be it intramuscular carbs or adipose tissue, right? Fats. So that's kind of what I want to balance. I want to eat enough to have a good workout during the day, but I want to save enough calories for when I go to bed to be able to go to bed without cheating. Because this is one point which I really need to stress. It is so much easier to eat a 500, a 750, even 1,000 calorie meal before bed than it is to be maxed out at your calorie limit hours before you have to lay down and go to sleep. And that may just be me, but the days where I can pretty much leave myself some calories for nighttime are the ones where it's not a question of me like, okay, am I going to eat a little bit extra today? And that's actually the strongest determining factor of whether you're going to fucking make your fat loss goals, or if you're just going to be the same guy fucking month after month, year after year, like we all see far too often in your gyms, online, everywhere. The guys who can actually take control of their diet, even if they're not training the absolute hardest, they're probably setting themselves up for more gains. And that kind of sucks, because the guys who are really pushing it hard, right? You think they should be the ones getting the best gains. But if somebody trains like a fucking demon and then doesn't hit their protein, isn't eating enough fats and carbs, then they're never going to grow. They're just going to stay where they're at. So if you have yet to really dive into taking control of your diet, and all you've been doing is, hard training, even if you're a pretty advanced lifter, but you've never really gotten into the dieting side of things, you're leaving a pretty insane plate of gains on the table that you just haven't even touched. So, a bit more diet focused car talk today, but that's the whole point of today. But a back day on 1,100 calories, more than enough fucking fluids. Actually, I had a few extra grams of carbs because I was drinking some electrolyte mix, like individual packets, and they had like 2 grams of carbs each. That's an extra 10. Even shit like that, you gotta fucking track it. If you look at the nutrition profile on something and it says 1 gram of carbs, that is getting plugged into your phone. No exceptions. Otherwise, where's the bar, man? If you don't track everything, if you let some shit slide, we're just gonna fucking slip and slide into anarchy. That's a world I don't want to live in. So I'm gonna get warmed up. There's a few lower lat focused hammer strength rows that I like at this gym, so I think I'm gonna throw some of those in. But really, it'll just be kind of like all my back days are, a solid combination of rows, pull downs, and pullovers, which, regardless of the order, set schemes, amount of supersets or drop sets or whatever, what do you think? Do you think I'm going to finish this day with a pump or not? Leave it, yeah. I don't know how to do. When guys are like, click on the icon here to vote. I haven't looked into that yet. Maybe I will, but I'm going to be fucking pumped. Let's just get started. Big nasty set of slightly wider than shoulder width neutral grip pull downs will be a perfect starter. And this one will be a nasty set. This is not going to be slow and controlled. This is going to be using a little bit of momentum, big stretch, which I don't see as a problem because it's for the purpose of having a ton of tension in my lats. So I'm not necessarily focused on a perfect, slow, controlled squeeze because there's 300 pounds on the fucking stack. Moving that around, I know is going to fucking seriously activate all the fibers from my armpit all the way down to my lower back where my lat ties in. And after this set, when I throw in some light squeezing, where it's much slower, I hold it for a second, come back up slow. I think it's a perfect fucking play off each other. One more like that. Oof. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 One more. Yeah. Oh my God. That's perfect. Oh, fuck. Thanks. Yeah. 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 2 more. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. That's enough of these. Okay, so same thing basically. This hand was just a touch wider, but I've gone much lighter, only 190 pounds, not 300.
But these pull downs are going to look very different. If you're really into lifting, you get what I'm saying? And I mean like really into lifting, this is very niche of a tip. But on those pull downs, I'm really moving my shoulders up and down. Like big stretch, my shoulders come up. And then as I pull down, my shoulders come down too. And in doing that, I definitely feel my fucking lats like way sort of down here in the middle where they tie into like my lower back. But I'm not getting so much like width over here like the wings. So sometimes I like to do a little wider grip, keep my back totally upright, like don't bend back much at all, and only try to focus on pulling my elbows like under my armpits, if you will. Not sure that's the best way to describe it, but that kind of lets me focus more on my lats up here instead of way down low. Ooh, I'm gonna readjust. One more. Okay. Let's do some rows. Oh my goodness. All right, some single arm cable rows on this sort of cable. Something about it I just fucking like, man. You know, it lets me get a solid, well, for one thing, it's just a pretty natural way to row with one arm. But the fact that I'm pulling on a cable and not just like, because this is like 100 pounds-ish of weight. That's what I feel when I row. If I were to pick up a dumbbell, if I row too quick, I'm gonna be able to ride the momentum upwards. But on a cable like this, with this extra pulley, this is the important part, I can't build up that momentum. The tension is so much more constant. You're probably not really gonna catch me do much single arm dumbbell rowing, but single arm cable rowing, huge fan. Fucking hell, it's heavy. Next set has to be lighter. Oh, totally overestimated that strength. Let's drop. You gotta drop it like 50 pounds. Good set though. Let's move on. Not sure what to. Nothing weight-wise, at least nothing too crazy weight-wise. I think this just about shoulder width neutral grip seated row is perfect for right now. Okay, let's make it drop set. Come on, goddammit. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Maybe one more. Maybe. Let me think about it. All right. I think I've got a little bit more blood I can squeeze into my lats, so I'm going to finish with some single arm pullovers. My right lat is a little bit ahead of the left one, so what I'm going to do to kind of try to counteract that imbalance is get to at least close to complete failure as I can on the left one. Let's say I get 20 reps. If my right lat, I hit 20 reps and I still have like 5 reps in the tank, even 10 in the tank, I'm just going to stop at 20 so that the left one gets just a touch more work. But by limiting yourself to the amount of reps that the weak side can do, you're not going to let the weak side overpower and grow past the strong side. They'll just gradually get closer and closer to being even with each other. But nothing too crazy here. All I'm really trying to do is squeeze as hard as I fucking can. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's go post down. Potentially overkill. Sometimes you gotta bust out the 7200 for the post down. Right? I'm just a happy camper. There's nothing else to say. I just want to see how we're looking. Because even just walking around, like picking up fucking, the dumbbells and stuff, like this, if I can get the focus, this is a lot of veins for me to just walk around at. Oh, damn, it's out of focus. Oh, there we go. Wait. Oh, yeah, there it is. Ugh. That's veiny for me, right? That is rather fucking veiny for me. So what that tells me is my back is probably going to have a similar amount of freakiness to it. So nothing else to say but to actually fucking get a good look. Ooh. Oh, goodness. So, final stages. No cheating on the calories. Let's see what this probably week to week and a half to 2 weeks out from the bulk post down looks like. We'll start for the front side and then move on to the cool side. Oh my goodness. Oh. All right, same thing from behind. Oh. All right, that's a solid amount of separation in my mind. There we go. Oh. Oh, goodness. So, with that, I would say back fully fucking pumped. Let's just get one more kind of a fun one going, and then we can get it here for real. Oh. Okay. Off to the car, god dang it. Good lift. And with that, the lifting portion of the day is complete. And this, honestly, I'm beginning to fucking notice the fact that my back is ahead of the game, because I can kind of tell, like, when my back is fully pumped up, it's almost a little bit too pumped. Like, I don't know, because I know, like, when I pose down in the morning, like lean, or not lean, but totally empty stomach, plus I'm not like so pumped up and kind of, basically swollen. The details and kind of the intricacies of my back are a lot more noticeable. So, that's not necessarily a bad position to be in, right? If I like the way that my back looks unpumped, then that means back is fucking, doing pretty well. The fact that I really love when my chest and my arms are fully pumped, what that means is those are my muscles that are kind of lagging behind a touch. Because if I think that the pumped look looks pretty much a bit more kind of symmetrical and flows better with everything else, then that means that unpumped, they need a little more work. So I haven't talked about this for a little while because I'm dieting down and I'm not trying to grow any new muscle right now. The process of dieting, you have to accept you're not building muscle. You're maintaining the muscle that you already have built and losing fat on top of it. Now, there's only one real caveat to that, and that's a newbie where you haven't worked out at all. You are going to gain some muscle and lose some fat at the same time, but that's only like a few month period. And even then, you're not really even gaining that much muscle because you're not eating enough food to facilitate it. That's just muscle gain because you've never really lifted before.
If you've been lifting for a year or longer consistently, there is no case where you're losing fat and building muscle substantially at the same time. It just isn't going to happen. So if you can understand that and really get it, then I think it's going to let you go a little bit harder, because I know my back's not going to grow. My lats, my arms, my legs, my chest, my shoulders, my everything, over this last 2.5 month period that I've been dieting down, all I'm trying to do is lose body fat and hold on to the muscle tissue that I have built underneath. But once I start bulking up again, that's when I'm in a state where, okay, I'm gaining muscle. I'm going to gain some fat as well, just from being in a calorie surplus. You can't really get around it. You can mitigate it by doing your daily cardio, but you can't really get around some fat gain on a bulk. It's just the nature of it, especially if you're bulking for real. If you're bulking where you say you eat 10,000 calories a day, but you're really eating 2,000 calories a day, then yeah, you're going to stay lean the whole time. The only problem is you're not going to grow a single pound. But the point that I'm trying to say there is, once I start the bulking phase, the amount of volume that I'm spending on my back, I am going to decrease a touch, especially kind of mid back, like my mid traps, and honestly, my lower lats too. They're kind of big enough, right? I want more lats. I want my lats to be wider in a front lat spread. I want my lats to open up more when I do a front double bi. But in relation to how big I am right now, my kind of mid traps, rhomboids, everything in there, it's kind of enough. So I want my chest to catch up. I want my arms to catch up. I want my legs to catch up. So when I start bulking up in a few weeks or a week or whenever, I'm probably only going to do back maybe once a week, whereas everything else is going to be closer to 2 times a week, because it's a strong point. I don't do shoulders. Shoulders is not a muscle which I'm just constantly pumping out, because they're kind of big enough already. Like when I do that double bicep shot, especially from the back, you can see that my shoulders themselves are round and they're overpowering my arms. Like it's almost like up here is really big, and then over here, like bicep to tricep, it's not as pronounced. So compared to my bigger shoulders, it makes my arms look a little bit smaller. And even as big as they may be, it is all about proportion when you're looking at how somebody looks. So somebody's arms can be smaller than mine, but proportionally to their build, if their shoulders are a little bit undersized, it's going to make their arms look bigger. But I just don't really have much need for shoulders right now. And there is reason for that. Obviously, if you didn't know this, your traps and your shoulders have the most androgen receptors. Those are kind of the classic 2 muscles that are going to grow when that's the path that you're going down. So this next bulk, back is going to get less attention. Back is not the favorite child. Back is going to be putting time out a little bit. Whereas I want my chest, my legs, and my arms to really take the spotlight. So I'll kind of go about that in some sort of way. I'll adjust the split, because if I have a day where I skip back, I'm not just going to only make it a rest day, or maybe I will. It's just to be determined. That's something to be determined and discussed later on. Right now, let's focus on dieting. So plan for meal number 3. I'm not totally sure. I've got some lean cuts of steak at home that I might want to bust out. I've got that other pound of ground beef, but I don't have any more of those keto buns left. All I have is like the low carb tortillas. That might be enough. Yeah, so kind of nothing too interesting food-wise today, but that's kind of the point. There's not if you can get a little more comfortable eating more kind of just straight up plain meals, protein, some kind of carb, ideally a higher fiber sort of carb. Like that's why I love all the keto bread and all the low carb tortillas. It's not because it's full of fiber, it's just because it doesn't have a massive amount of actual digestible carbs. Because technically fiber, like dietary fiber, that is carbs. At the microscopic level, those are just fucking glucose molecules, just like sugar and fucking rice and anything else. Except they're in such long chains
called cellulose. You can't break it down. You know, that's like if you tried to eat a fucking eat a plate of hay. The human stomach just cannot deal with that. It's just going to pass through you like nothing. So what that means is when you see food and you're looking at the nutrition label and it says like 20 grams of carbs, 15 grams of insoluble fiber, that insoluble, that means that that's not going to be digested. You're not going to use the energy in that 15 grams of carbs. So that can be subtracted off the top. So really, it's only 5 grams of net carbs if you kind of follow my logic. But if I had to kind of put it simply, I think the keto bread and the like the artificially sweetened like barbecue sauces and things like that, those are kind of the only real effective like low calorie options that you have. And what I mean by that is like the logic behind something like a protein bar or like a I mean they're all over the place. You know, it's like the One Crunch bars or the oh fuck, what are those protein cookies? You get what I'm saying? Like the 20 grams of protein in this protein bar, or you know, the point of that would be perfect if it was just a little bar, pretty much just like a little cookie, like a chocolate bar. You're just having a treat. If all it had was 20 grams of some kind of high quality protein, like a whey isolate or you know whatever, I'd say yippee. I'd probably be fucking chowing down on them. You know, the problem is because this is the highlight that they put on the labels of those sort of protein bars is they say like, oh, 20 grams of 20 grams of protein, you know, whey protein, only 3 grams of net carbs. And you say, holy crap, 20 grams of protein and only 3 grams of carbs? This is fucking awesome. I'm going to eat 100 of these. Which I don't think would necessarily be a terrible move if that were the case. You know, high quality protein source. I'm not just going to slam protein bars or protein shakes all day. I do want to get more red meats and chickens and direct animal products like that. Unprocessed in a way. And I don't say that because like, oh, I'm against processed foods. Your protein sources, as close to the original source as you can get, honestly, I think that's the better. You know, there's, if I had the choice between scrambled egg whites or dehydrated eggs, rehydrated into scrambled, what do you think I'm going to pick, you know? But what I'm trying to say there is, okay, it says right on the front label, 20 grams of protein, 3 grams of net carbs. Baller. Oh, I'm driving slow. This guy's mad at me. But when you really look at the nutrition label, that's where you actually see the real story. Because these fucking things have like 12 grams of fat in them. So one little protein bar like that, 20 grams of protein, only 3 grams of net carbs because it has some fiber in it, it's still like 200 calories. It's still like 250 calories. So even when it like, especially the protein cookies, I see these all the time, which the idea of it seems so fucking cool, right? I don't need a cookie and get my protein. I love it. You know I'm prone to fucking having some treats. But this whole thing, like just one packaged protein cookie, the thing's got 400 calories. That's not a dieting meal. You know, that is not diet friendly. I may as well just eat a real cookie for the same amount of calories and get the protein from an actual real source. So the point that I'm trying to say there is there are calorie smart options which are actually a good move. Like when I see a sugar-free barbecue sauce and it has like in one serving, you know, 1 tablespoon, only 4 grams of carbs. Perfect. Sugar-free ketchup, same thing. Perfect. You know, diet soda. Perfect. Fucking, and I stand behind that, right? Every one of these crazy studies against some of these sweeteners are all very, you know, pick and choosy kind of straw manny. But that's up to you. You know, I'm not your dietitian. I'm not I'm not here for legal or pharmaceutical or dietary. Well, no, actually, I'm here for dietary advice. But you get what I'm saying. I don't have a massive problem with your artificial sweeteners. I never notice anything. And then with the keto bread, you know, where it's like, I love this one. It's called Live Carb Smart. Comes in hot dog buns, fucking hamburger buns, even just straight up sliced bread. I will say this though, if you eat too many of them once, it may make you a little bloated just from there's just something in there where that'll get you. But apart from that, which definitely is a little bit of a drawback, all that stuff is really solid. All that stuff works. You know, getting 96% lean beef instead of 80/20, getting a lean cut of a steak instead of something like a ribeye or, you know, whatever else. Those are calorie smart options which actually work and are going to help you stay full but not eat too many calories for the day. Now, where you get tricked is when you see a lot of the too good to be true kind of shit. You know, the fucking, some of those sort of like high protein snacks. It's no better than just eating that amount of protein from a real protein source and then just having that same volume of whatever it is, be it like protein chips or anything else. You may as well just have some eggs and then real chips. Just make sure that you weigh it out, track the macros in it, and stay on track to end up at the end of the day when you go to bed at your calorie limit. Now, that being said, I still do have some protein bars sometimes, and I still do have some of those like Quest, you know, nacho chips and shit at the gas station because I still track the macros and I make sure I'm on track to hit my calorie goal at the end of the day. But it's not really the best move. Honestly, meals like the ones that I have today with like the eggs and the oatmeal and the ground beef and those little fruit bars, even those fruit bars were pushing it. But in a dieting phase, honestly, the more classic of a meal you can do in a bodybuilding sense, the better. Throw in some, even just last night we went out to dinner. I got some steak with some broccoli and some asparagus, just straight up vegetables. Shit's perfect. Filled me up, only for like 600 calories. Use there's all sorts of little tips and tricks that you can kind of get a hold of the longer that you get into dieting. But if you're not into it yet, start right now. Start right now. Pause the video. Open up the App Store. Look it up. Macro Tracker. Whichever one looks like it floats your boat, click it, download it, make sure you fucking use it. And then just see what happens, you know. But really solid lift. I'm definitely feeling hungry now. Let's cut to whatever meal 3 ends up being.
Little on the heavier side, a little more calories in this meal than the 500 I was kind of preaching about earlier, because this is pushing more into 600, 650. But 50 grams of protein from kind of an older skirt steak that my dad made like a couple days ago. Lean cut, just a little tough, but that is kind of the nature of it. And then pack of ramen that was sitting in the cupboard, which I do not only see as a pack of ramen that I like. It's got a lot of sodium. I'm really looking at 50 grams of carbs, 15 grams of fat, and then 9 grams of protein. But I'm not, I mean, come on. It's like I was saying before, 9 grams of protein from, you know, pretty much just processed rice. I really don't think that's hitting the complete amino acid array, but I'll just count it as 5 instead of the full 9. That puts me at 165 grams of protein total, 54 grams of fat, a little bit ahead in terms of the percentage goal of everything else, and then only 168 grams of carbs. So I've got a lot of carbs left. I've nearly got 150 grams of carbs left. So after this, when I go home, these next 2 meals, I could probably even have a fucking treat if I like. 2 popsicles, that's only 20 grams, you know, that's not too crazy. But I can't stress enough, you really do need to be anal with this kind of stuff. And not because you have to only eat a specific amount every meal, every 2 hours, or anything like that. The more important part is being anal and really knowing like every gram of everything that you're eating over the course of the day. Because that will actually give you a real idea of your calorie intake. Because if you're just guessing, man, you're shooting blind. You don't really know where you're aiming for. You could have one day where you feel like you eat a lot, another day where your appetite was just a little lower for some reason. You still feel like you ate a lot. But on this day, you had 2,000 calories or 4,000 calories, and on this day, you only had 2,000. So, I mean, I've been saying this whole video. I can't stop saying it. I really think you got to start tracking your macros. And the guys who say like, oh, well, I'll just start doing meal prep. That's all you're doing. Even when you have a coach meal prep you, or you have someone else set up your diet, or, you know, whatever, you're having like fucking pre-made meals like that. And it's like, oh, have 3 of these a day for your weight. That's just macro tracking, except they set up the diet after calculating the macros when they made the meals. So like I was saying a couple clips ago, I say just track it as you go. Because then, if for whatever reason, if I had a crazy hankering and I said, I'm getting 2 cheeseburgers from McDonald's post workout, that's what I want, that's what I'm going to eat. That's not necessarily a cheat meal. All that is 60 grams of carbs, 20 grams of fat, and 20 grams of protein, which can easily be fit into my 250 grams of protein, 70 grams of fat, and 300 grams of carbs. The difficulty there is when you eat foods like that are very calorie dense, they don't make you feel full for that long. So even though you may feel like you're just kind of curbing your cravings, at some point you're actually kind of setting yourself back because you're going to be much hungrier later in the day. But I'll just sit here and enjoy this, watch some photography videos. I'm like a total camera nerd now. If you know anybody in that realm where you're kind of knowledgeable, I'm talking lenses, APS-C, full frame, whatever. If you got any tips or critiques on the way that all this stuff is kind of recorded, I would love to hear it. And don't think I don't read the comments. YouTube, it's pretty much got an app where it feeds every comment into one little stream. So fucking constantly every day I'm just scrolling, I'm seeing what you guys are saying. I can't like them all anymore, but don't worry, I do read them. So let's cut to meal number 4. There we go. I think this is fucking perfect. I'm a big Mirage and Dust fan if you were not aware. But the day has wound down, finishing at a total of, well, with this meal below me, which I'm about to fucking show you, 272 grams of protein, a little higher than I usually aim for. I mean, usually I'm looking at like 250, but if you're within that gram per pound of body weight range, you're pretty much fine. Honestly, I think I'd be fine if I had 200. I think I'd be fine if I had 300. A gram per pound that I weigh, it just kind of makes the most sense, 64 grams of fat, 220 grams of carbs. I kind of overestimated my carb intake. 300 grams of carbs for me would be about 3,000 calories. Only 250-ish is about 2,500. So 3 little turkey sandwiches, keto bread like I showed you a second ago, 3 kind of packs of just deli turkey. I mean, I got like the really fancy pants, like natural, no hormones, whatever. At the end of the day, it's still deli meat, so it's not like, I mean, I would still call it a quality source of protein. Honestly, I was eating this kind of stuff when I was starting out. I'm talking like a massive sandwich with 2 packets worth of turkey on the inside, probably 100 grams of protein worth, like completely unnecessary. But I think it's still a quality source, even if it is maybe, the ground up feet or whatever else. But at the end of the day, finishing at 2540, plus having done my cardio for real before, I'm totally fucking fine with that. So I'll sit here and play with these, or no, eat these while I'm playing this. I'll splice in some highlights if I do anything cool, but that's pretty much it. So by the time I finish these, as well as my cup of vitamins, which I think I left in the kitchen, I get to brush my teeth, have a shower, go to bed clean, and then that's the end of it. Too easy. I bet you didn't expect this to be under this full day of eating, did you? Got to spice things up. Come on.
Smoke bros.
Better than nothing. I'll see
I
you
mean,
guys
they did
tomorrow
break down
for
the autos.
arms.